Unturned is presented by UpdateAI.
And I said, if AI can do those 5 things for me as a customer success professional, and I wrote down all these examples of how I envisioned it in the use cases of customer success. Do you feel like if you had AI that was serving that, it would be hitting on majority of the use cases for you to the point where you said, I'd be getting immense value from that?
Yeah, 100% fully agree on all those P's. I think we are missing one S.
All right, now we'll start. All right, everybody, welcome to this episode, this edition. Oh, Kristi, you're here.
I am here.
We started before you even got here, Kristi.
I just wanted to come in just as the music was starting, just for the effect. So
yeah. Kristi, we're just going to digress for a second. You look really nice today, and that's not like saying other days, but like today, I like whatever. You've got a little different vibe with the makeup and the hair, and I don't know if this is going to come across as misogynistic, and I'm going to get canceled or whatever. But I just want to throw that out there. John, I'll flatter you afterwards as well.
Compliments don't get people canceled. I
look
appreciate
like shit,
that.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you look like such hot stuff.
I am hot stuff. I did it for Ziv. I was so excited for our conversation. It's been a while since he and I chatted last, so.
Yeah. Sorry, what's his name?
Ziv. Are we doing Ziv?
Ziv Peled. Nice to meet you.
Ziv. Oh, we're pretending. Oh, because we didn't, what?
No. This is not the Ziv episode. We're interviewing his brother Ziv. Yeah. So.
Oh, can you be nice to me? Jesus Christ!
I just was nice, and now I'm compensating for it. Well, welcome back, everybody.
You're always overcompensating. That's the problem.
I'm always overcompensating. Trust me about that. We are, we got the band back together. I'm really excited about this. We're past Labor Day. We're into the fall almost. How's it hanging, everybody?
Little bit lighter on my end.
I was just going to say, that's a really interesting opener.
I set it up.
Josh set it up. Are we going to talk about it? Do we get to do a little bit of recap about
I think we
happening?
should. We should actually just have a blush meter on Ziv to see, because we haven't introduced him now. He's quiet for the first time in his life, right? Because Ziv is not somebody that comes into a meeting and doesn't speak. But I just want to go into this conversation now, and then we'll introduce Ziv.
Yeah. So, I mean, for those of you that, kind of know, I've been MIA for 4 or 5 weeks now. I got diagnosed with cancer. It's a big, scary word. I know. Ziv's eyes just went big and he goes, "Oh shit, what did I get into?"
Now everything he says after this point is like, oh, okay, who cares?
Okay. Yeah. No, but, pretty, actually kind of a shock. Like it kind of came out of nowhere. And had surgery about 4 weeks ago, got all of the tumors removed. And I actually was really hoping that I would have this news when I got on this call, but I just got my results back this morning from the last round of scans that we did on Friday. And the last surgery got all of the tumors out of my body.
Yes.
So while I'm still in process of figuring out what chemo and treatment looks like, and it does seem like there's going to be a substantial amount of that over the next 6 months, the big scary parts are over and they're out of my body. So I've kind of taken the last month. I took a month off work. I went and just planted my butt on the beach in Mexico by myself, totally by myself, to just like heal and recover and cry and like drink mezcal and eat the best food they've ever had. And just kind of process. So I'm back. It's been a week and, I'm kind of really recharged and refreshed to kind of hit this next kind of stage head on. And, it's kind of like, it goes without saying, but I've been overwhelmed by kind of the support of the community. Kristi flew down and spent some time with me and my family after the surgery. Josh bailed last minute.
Wait, I made it to the airport.
Like I said, bailed last minute, the last minute of minutes. Yeah. And honestly, like every day, new packages arrive with different gifts and cards and candles and funny coffee cups. And it's just been a really a nice moment for me who struggles to ask for help and to just kind of let people love on me and kind of dump some kindness. So I'm feeling very loved, and everybody that listens, I've gotten so many messages from folks that are, asking where I'm at, but also asking how I am. And I just, I am overwhelmed and just kind of sitting in a lot of gratitude. So I appreciate everybody, and we're going to kick the shit out of this cancer. And the joke about hanging, just because this isn't a PC, specifically it was testicular cancer. So they actually cut out one of my balls. And the analogy that I've been using is pretty much like a medical boba tea experiment. They just kind of plopped it out. And I actually
I hope
opted,
they didn't suck it from like a really large straw.
No, that's actually the machine that they use. Like that's literally
right.
the go-in from the
Now we
apps.
have to change the ratings of this program.
Yeah. But no, but also like I opted, this is probably way too much information as well for everybody listening, but I opted not to get a prosthesis. So I just wanted to have a story, so I got the left eye over here. Got to come up with some new nicknames. I changed the nickname, the group chat, for this podcast to, 3 balls and a lady. I forget what it was before. Fancy Faltorusso or something like that. I forget what it was before, but yeah. Welcome, Ziv.
He's talking about our internal text message chat group.
Yeah.
Maybe this wasn't the right episode for Ziv. Maybe we should have devoted this whole episode to you. Maybe we'll do that. We'll do that anyways.
I think it's great. I think that this is one thing, and this is related to relationships, and we'll connect it in a second. But this is one thing, and all the love that you got, John. We don't know each other from before, but all the love that you got. This is something AI will never replace, and we can start from that.
I agree with you completely. There's the human element.
This is why we are needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except when people search ChatGPT for what should I say as condolences in this situation, then AI actually is feeding all that.
Yeah. No, but I would love AI to figure out how to spot my cancer a hell of a lot sooner so I don't have to lose a testicle. But,
it will.
We'll get there.
Yeah, it will. It will. Yeah, John. Well, I mean, listen, our hearts go out for you, and we're so happy that you've had the outcome so far that you've had. Mm-hmm. And, Kristi and I have been very close to you throughout this. And so, obviously it's not the same journey for us, but we've been kind of, you've been kind enough to be open with us about it, and we're just here for you. And so happy again that you're on your way back. So
yeah, I appreciate it. All right, well, let's get into it.
Ziv, how's it hanging?
For you specifically.
Lopsided or even keel?
Yeah. It's not an easy year for sure.
Sorry, I got to introduce you. So everybody, this is Ziv Peled. Ziv is actually one of the, before there was Kristi Faltorusso and the others, there was Ziv with UpdateAI. And Ziv this is like 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago, maybe. He was the first real person that like knew the ins and out of customer success and blew my mind when I spoke to you. And I didn't know anything about CS. Many would argue I still don't. But at that time, Ziv just kind of opened the kimono and just preached and showed me all the cool stuff that he's working on. He's got a big team of he's got a huge CS team. What is it like? It was like 250 or something at the time, at least CCO of AppsFlyer. He's there from like the very beginning. Let's just call it first 10 employees, right? And for 7, 8, 9 years. And is just one of the most knowledgeable and like effective leaders within all of customer success. And you see him on LinkedIn. He's got 25,000 followers. He's still quite shy of Kristi. But he's not about like the LinkedIn fame. He like just really knows his shit. So I'm very excited. And you've always been very kind and generous to me in all of our sessions. So we're happy to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Josh, for having me. So I'm almost next month will be 11 years at AppsFlyer.
11.
What a journey with AppsFlyer for sure. The team is 280, give or take, including support. But it's I think I learned so much about this. In this journey, we started doing everything manual to the product that we have today and the customers that we have today. And I think also something very, very related again to relationships. We operate in almost all markets. So like the things that I learned in China and how to work with Chinese customers and Japanese and Indian and in Europe and South America and in the US, it's really was that journey that taught me almost everything. And the 11 years that I'm going to celebrate next month will be 25% of my life in that company. So also something I think substantial that I'm thinking about the post for the 11 years. But yeah, last 4 years were very interesting, from COVID to a war in Europe to now a war in where we are headquartered. in Israel, which is also a long war. So the war in Ukraine is still there, and it's long. And we have teams, by the way, both in Ukraine and also a small team in Russia. And now, for the majority of our team, half of the company, we have a long war in Israel, which we haven't had for years. So I think we can also maybe speak about that, working during war and trying to fly out and not
I want to start there. I want to start there because you're actually speaking to us from your safe room, literally, right? And you're based in Tel Aviv or outside Tel Aviv or in the city?
In the area.
Okay. Let's talk, you're in charge of 280 people. Obviously, a lot of them are globally in the States and other places. But you have a big office in Tel Aviv as a company. And how has life changed? I mean, it's been a year now. How has, what's the before and after? I don't even know where to go with that question. I'm sure there'll be follow-ups, but how's it been going? What's the situation out there in the working world?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, for people from outside to understand that the first couple of months were definitely extreme. And we had missiles, rocket attacks also here. In my city where I live, maybe 8 or 9 times, but in Tel Aviv, dozens of times, etc. But I think that's not something that's something, I don't know if you can imagine, but think about 20-something% of the workforce on reserve duty for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. I think that's something. And then, even so, some of that is also spouse on working, but their spouse is on reserve duty. So a lot of challenges.
So they have extra household duties and family duties and things like that, even if they are working.
Yeah, and for us, for me as a leader and managing managers, we need to take all that into account. Where is their mind, their focus, how to keep them motivated. There's so much, and I think here, being in a global company, it was maybe the most positive point in the first couple of months. We had our people in the other teams in Berlin, in London, in other places chipping in. So we had a little bit less of bandwidth, and they took bandwidth. I think that worked really, really well for a global company. And again, 3 years ago, we'd done the same for Ukraine and Russia, and I think that's shows how a company operates, and if you build a good company and a good culture or not. Also, people, when I look at people in my teams, tenure, and I see now some people are starting to now celebrate 10 years. People they joined. So I'm employee number 7, but even employee, I presented it to the board. People that joined after me in my teams in 2013, 2014, and the beginning of 2015, 50% of them are still in the team. That's remarkable.
That is remarkable.
Because that's beyond tenure. I call it, when you look at DNA in biology, then there's part of it is memory, and I call it the organization memory. Now, yes, I can replace a CSM, you can replace a salesperson, you can replace a product manager, but that person that is 8 years with us and saw the evolution of the product and the market and the offering, you cannot replace that. And that's something significant, and we really see that in the culture of the company.
One thing, I have a question, just,
Sure.
We talk a lot about global companies. We talk a lot about the workforces, how we hire or how we develop. But, obviously you're living through one of the outcomes of a global economy, which is, I currently am not in conflict with our country, right? But but there are conflicts all around the world, right? And when you start interacting on a global scale, whether it's with customers or with employees, you're going to come into that, right? And this is a very difficult. I can't even begin to fathom the process that not just you as a leader is going through, but also, I mean, you're talking with customers. I cannot imagine that there hasn't been an impact, not just on the business side, but also just like the human side, right? So one of the things that I think gives you a unique perspective is how you kind of like balance like the fact that like we have to pay our bills, but like not to put too delicate of a point on it, like there's bombs dropping, like and there are people that are fighting a war here where you live, but then there's also another conflict in Ukraine, and that's a different reasoning, and that's different purpose, and there's different goals and countries at play. Like how do you, I mean, obviously you have to like look at the human impact here, right? So how do you balance and even like run a business? Like I can't do it when my kids are yelling at me in the background. I'm just not to diminish in anything here, but this is a heavy burden. So how do you walk through this space, reporting to shareholders and reporting to a board and reporting to leaders within your company, but then also like you have this like real shit that you have to deal with, and you cannot just say I'll deal with this tomorrow because it is right outside your door.
Yeah, I think we always, first of all, learn the situation, try to understand. I connect to that in the beginning of COVID. Where I'll tell later, we had some very early information about it because we have a Chinese office. Then the beginning of the war in Ukraine, and now definitely in the war in Israel. First, we learn what we are up with, but then very fast we are communicating also internally, and I think that's also very, very important because even before going to customers, we have among our employees, we have 1,400 people. So we're speaking about diversity and inclusion. We have already religious, and we need to be also thinking about everyone. It's not about Israel. The company is not Israel. We are a global company. And I think that then, obviously, we help our employees. We are empathizing with them and also with our customers. But then, as you would expect from a company, our missing a word. In the end, bottom line, what we owe our shareholders, employees, and customers is that we operate as a business. And by the way, this is the best thing for our country, because we only in Israel we're probably like 850 people. So we this year we're doing very well in business, and we pay a lot of taxes in Israel, and this is exactly what Israel needs. I'll connect for a second also on the point with COVID. Believe it or not, I was in December 2019. I was in Beijing. Wow. And it was very, very early that we didn't know. Then we had sales kickoff 3 weeks after in Israel, and the Chinese team was in Israel, and I believe we had first points of COVID. I think I was sick the week after because of that, but that was end of January. And then mid-February, China was already sick. We sent a shipment from Israel to China of masks. And then that was the last shipment that anyone ever sent from Israel to China. Then all the masks came from China to the other side of the world. But that was very, very funny because we had that information from how our Chinese office dealt with that in January, in February, and we know what to expect. We closed the office before in Israel or all over the world before the government in Israel decided to close offices and canceled the events in March. It was very, very interesting, and I think that from that we know how to cope with crisis.
Yeah,
faster.
But it's taken a very like healthy approach to some very, very heavy moments, right? And I think that's one of the things that is so unique about this global environment that we're in right now. Like my first job was at a McDonald's in Woodinville, Washington, and somebody got sick and we learned how to not get sick from that one person, right? But we're talking about these things that are spreading and cross borders, right? And taking the approach of, this is a crisis and how do we address it as a global market? Like that's incredible. I don't know many people that have that perspective. So you're coming into it from that. Kristi, I feel like you've been like itching to jump in here, but you're muted, so it doesn't matter.
I was muted because the dog was barking. So in all fairness, like I wanted to mute to be respectful because my dog is atrocious and horrible. Okay. So listen, I think as leaders, we all did our best to navigate like the pandemic as an example, the best we could. And for most leaders, they hadn't faced a challenge like this before. It was the first time for a lot of people. And so I guess I'm curious to hear from you, like, what was your approach to communication with like, we still have to do this stuff as a business and we still have to hit these goals and we still have like, this still matters, while also being empathetic to the fact that everything around them personally might be falling apart. Like, what was your balance of that? Because I mean, even pandemic agnostic, right? Like, you didn't even forget that. Even everyone's just day-to-day life when the world isn't falling apart around all of us, everyone is still navigating so many things personally, right? Like Jon's a great example of somebody who's got a lot going on outside of work. And I think we all do. We all have, varying degrees of things. How do you help drive balance of prioritizing the business and driving what needs to happen at work while also taking into consideration these other things?
Yeah. I think, first of all, like everything in life, you need to build trust. And I think, company with employees, shareholders and customers, I think that we already had trust from before. But the first, let's say, 2 or 4 weeks, we just said to employees, focus on your family, on the house, your neighborhood, and then company comes last. And if you feel that you can't, we'll make it work. Someone else will take it. And I think that's, obviously, a few weeks after, it was all about how to get back to business. But I think that building that trust and supporting everyone was very similar in COVID. I think in COVID, we were not well trained about that, and it was a little bit harder for us. But I think that all starts from building that trust. And I think that trust is also something, you get to keep until you break it at some point. But like, we get a lot of credit, I think from mainly internally, but we get a lot of credit for that.
Well, actually, there is like a trust equation, right? And I know one of the factors in the trust equation is time that you've been together. So the fact that you have such longevity in your company, all your employees, that you guys have been together for so many years, I'm sure that factors into it too. Like you are a family and you act together and you support each other. It's not just going through the motions of that. I can imagine that really helped you out. What was there anything like structural or like to Kristi's point, is there any active changes in the way you operated that helped you with it? No, like different types of stand-ups or different communication types or like any types of different goal setting, like anything real like structural?
In COVID, a lot, we changed the like how we work.
But for the war in Israel.
But now I think, I think we are very trained to work remote. Yeah. And then even that wasn't for a long time, like, only when really needed, we worked remote. And even now, I think that, now it's post-COVID, the first days of war, we're getting more into the office because we believe, and, I saw that in many companies all over the world, we believe that face-to-face is, we cannot compare it to anything. So we're asking our employees to come three days a week fixed. So, the ICs and the management is all together in those 3 days, and then managers comes 4 days a week, executives 5.
Cool. Should we go on? Let's move on. Let's move on to
let's speak about happy things.
let's speak about happiness. Well, hey everybody, it's Josh. I'm taking a quick break from the podcast to tell you a bit about UpdateAI. I started UpdateAI to solve two major challenges for CS teams. The first is that we save CSMs 4 to 5 hours per week with our productivity through AI. Secondly, we give leaders a window into all the conversations across each account and the entire portfolio. So we help knowledge transfer, we help increase the coverage model of your CS teams, and we help you detect emerging patterns in what your customers are telling your CSMs across all the risks, product feedback, advocacy moments, and expansion opportunities. So come check us out at www.updateai. It's completely free to sign up and trial. The next question actually on my mind is not necessarily happiness, but we want to know what's a big rock that you're pushing up a hill right now. We're getting into Q4, end of year. What's something that, challenge or an objective that you're really working hard on?
There's a few rocks, and I'm trying to push all, but I think in the end, it's really, for now, for me as an executive, is planning 2025 and be able to, from that, to push 2026. Because, again, I cannot say all the numbers, but as at least what is public, we crossed $400 million in ARR. So think about growth the pace of our growth, and we need to do it again next year and maybe even faster. So now we're looking at what are all these initiatives and the efficiencies of the go-to-market teams, and I'm sitting both in the management of the go-to-market team and also I have a seat in the product leadership. So it's and when you want to grow so significantly, then you need to be very, very efficient in the go-to-market, but you also need to make sure that you have the growth engine in the product. So again, I can say from my 11th year at AppsFlyer, it's something that for sure I never done before, that scale, and but it's very, very interesting. And to mix all that, I think we can mix also AI. We're trying both buy and build, and I'm waiting to see the fruits of that as well. I'm looking at all my vendors from beginning of last year to see who will be the vendor that will bring AI for real, not like what Salesforce say. I can say Salesforce because they always keep on blowing that on AI. They say AI, but they're not providing anything. I hope they're not sponsoring this.
No.
Well, now
AI
they're not.
title alone. Yeah, now they're not.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, but I think I think that AI is definitely the next thing. But we need to find it's not Gen AI. Mm-hmm. It's something else.
Well, what is it?
And we need to find it.
Josh wants you to answer. Tell the whole world what it is. Just no.
I'll say the sentence. Just you heard that sentence probably 6 times. I want AI to tell my CSM that last year was managing 20 customers, but I want them to manage 40 customers. Yeah. I want them to tell them today or tomorrow morning, who is the next customer they need to approach, in what channel, what contact, and in what context. That's it.
And is everybody listening? Because you're right. I mean, that's every CSM that I talk to is we have all these great tools that are disparate, that do not talk, that do not share, and are not intelligent. They just, it's help me write an email. It's great. Help me, create a meme to make my customer laugh. That's awesome. Cool. Rad. Got my LinkedIn post. Awesome. Which is cool. But this is just scratching the surface. If we can actually get true intelligence behind this, you're right. This is kind of the promise that every customer platform they started, the gain sites and the tangos and the churn zeros, is what they said. We're going to give you indicators on what health is and where they're coming from. But the problem with that is all data is messy, and you have to have a human clean it up. And this is the perfect job for a slave AI, just to go in and make heads or tails of what's happening and identifying for us to say yes or no. Let's follow this. Let's not follow this. Who do you see in the market? Like, what is there anybody that you're watching that is kind of like maybe cracking the code on this, or starting to maybe kind of look at this like from a platform perspective?
There's a lot of startups.
Too many.
Yeah, I keep speaking with lots of startups, and when betting on startups, you also need to see like it's a combination of like the team, funding, and like I believe that this group of people will be here in 4 years. Maybe I'll surprise you, but I think, and also I think Josh knows that from, if you remember, we spoke about it a few times in the past. I think currently the closest will surprise you. It's not a CS platform, it's Gong.
Gong, yeah, absolutely.
Gong is very close. Now, it's not enough because Gong was also close to provide me sentiment since I subscribed to Gong, but I'm not getting sentiment, and I definitely expect sentiment from a platform that I pay so much for.
But you're asking for, you're suggesting in some sense it's a health scoring because it's a, hey, we've seen these signals that there's something that we should be proactive in addressing, right? So effectively that's a version of a health score. Is Gong giving you that in some way?
I'm not looking for an L score. I was never an L score fan. I believe we need an L score. We have an L score in Looker, but I'm not a fan of L score. What I expect from the platform, and Gong can provide it, but it can be someone else, is that saying, I have 20 accounts, and in those 20 accounts, I interact with 600 people, but out of those 600 people, 90 are the significant relationships, are your champions, decision makers, or executives.
Right.
And the next thing that I need to do tomorrow morning is to connect with company A. And in company A, I need to speak with Frank. And Frank, best to approach Frank over Slack around 9:54 a.m. Yeah. And according to the CI/CD of our side and their adoption of features on our side, I should speak with them on feature A, B, and C. And by the way, feature B is going to launch a new feature next week.
You and I have been talking about this for years. You and I talked about this 4 years ago. You wanted, because you have this amazing Looker dashboard and you've got engineers that are devoted to it and it's got all this data. And we should talk about that a little bit. But you always said to me, the one thing you could build is basically, right now I've got all my CSMs and I have to trust their evaluation of the relationship with each account, with each stakeholder. And is it multi-threaded enough? And what does this person say? And am I close? Well, you had like a rubric, like, am I close enough to them where they'll take my call, or I'll close enough to them? What was your selection?
When I ask a CSM to create a relationship and then update it every 30 to 60 days, I ask them to update 2 things, and they have the open notes if they want to add a little bit of notes about the relationship. I ask about the relationship strength, and I can automate that, but I cannot automate it globally for all CSMs, so I continue to have it manually. And I'm saying, like, if you email that person and they return same day, it's 5 out of 5. They return tomorrow, 4 out of 5. This week, 3 out of 5. Next week, 2 out of 5. Very hard to reach, 1 out of 5. It was also proven that, like, the engagement level is the strength of the relationship. And the second question is
that literally your scoring method for that? Like that's actually
my scoring method for that. And the second part is how well do I know them? Is like, and then
relationship depth.
Yeah. And that's for me, it's how many times I spoke with that person. Do I know information about them? So only I know Kristi and Josh very well now. I feel I know Jon very well also. I think we got to 4 out of 5 in one call. That's amazing. I would definitely have a lot of icebreakers.
Yes.
For the next call. And that's exactly it, because I was a customer success manager, and I'm not a great customer success manager. I'm good at product. I'm very technical, and I'm good. I can remember things from 17 years ago. So those 2 things are very connected. When I present my belief on relationships, I always present a Bain & Co. company something that 30 things that you can do for the other side. It can be your employee, it can be your customer, that is in addition to the value of the product, but that can you are providing a lot of value. And then on the low end, very easy is that I can do things to the customer to save them time, budget. That those are the easy things. But people connect very not top eye, but very eye to nostalgia, to the things that we remember, to each and every one of us as customers. So customers connect and remembers really well the onboarding, even if it was 6 years ago. You remember a crappy one, and for sure you remember the best one.
Yeah.
One of my best, Superhuman.
Oh yeah, no, I've got a bunch of friends that have used them and have positive experiences as well.
I'm using for 4 years ish, and last week I had a 30-minute call because I wanted to catch up and learn how to do things, and then it was scheduled for tomorrow. Go on, I got everything answered. That's and it reminded me the onboarding. In the onboarding, they didn't want to onboard me because I had an iPhone, but I didn't have a Mac.
Oh.
So I switched to a Mac for Superhuman.
That's a case study right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ziv, one day we will gather, we will earn your business. I've been trying for 4 years, but you know what? Now our mission for our product, UpdateAI, is to build the best customer knowledge graph of all the interactions and relationships. And of course, we're building out more features in the actual platform and stuff, but that's not really the big mission. The big mission is I finally got there. I finally am taking what you're preaching, and that's the goal, because I think that context is what you're talking about. And in a world where data is accessible to anybody, there's no more data advantage. Mm-hmm. So from my perspective as a startup founder, it's the contextual advantage.
Yep.
And it could be around the product usage and stuff like that. But to me, I'm a relationships guy as well. Many might be surprised who listen to this podcast all the time, but and it's getting the context about the relationship, all those nuances, to be able to then serve that, whether it's serving it in Salesforce or in HubSpot or on our platform or in Slack or whatever. I'm a big believer in that. So we will get you, Ziv, soon.
Love that. Well, Josh, not to just blow sunshine up your skirt, but just there is a lot of value. Everybody's talking about data. You're right. Everybody has data, and the more data that we have, all of these AI tools are being built to ingest data, right? But it's maybe good data, maybe bad data. I love the way that you're thinking about this from a context standpoint, because you're right. If I have a graph of all 1,000 users that I've either met with or emailed with or talked to or not talked to or avoided, that all feeds into this pinpoint, right? I think about it like me playing with a little laser pointer with my kitty cat, right? And it's okay, you're going to go over here right now. I want AI to be that laser pointer to kind of focus on what my attention is. And if we use all of these things like customer context and product data, like Pendo, or usage data, like user testing, then we actually have this more robust that is not just here's click on, log off. It's Josh has had a really hard month.
Yeah.
We got to give him some love. How do we give that guy some love?
The funny part is that we don't need a lot of AI to do the basic things what Josh saw in the past already. What we have in Looker for our customer success managers is fully rule based. We don't need AI, and it's just looking at. Think about 3 main buckets. So it looks at about the engagement with the user, emails, Zendesk tickets, Gong recordings, meetings, if you log a meeting, etc. And then the second bucket is usage of the product. And the third bucket, which maybe the most important for B2B SaaS, is decision-making rank. So if I saw you in a previous opportunity, and we have 2 types of opportunities. We have an opportunity for feature adoption non-premium. So you get some score, but not top. And if you were part of an opportunity or you are the account owner in our Salesforce settings, then you get rank 1. And then when I look at all these things together, so if I'm the CSM of that company A, and I have a relationship with that Steve, and we know that Steve engaged a lot with us, uses the product a lot, and is a decision maker. So it's super important, and that's a great relationship. If I see another person, Frank, and
we love Frank,
yeah, and very strong engagement, very strong usage, but you can see in Salesforce, I don't have a relationship with Frank. So the very, very stupid system that we've built, saying I should build a relationship with Frank, should engage, you should map it, and you should identify if he's a champion, decision maker, an executive, and then there's a playbook.
Well, it's funny,
and AI can just take it scalable.
Yeah. But I really like that model because, like, again, like most of us are just looking at a contact sheet of just like a user. Oh, this guy logs in all the time. Like, I should build a relationship with him. Like, maybe, sure, like for sure. But like, if we do have this intelligence around how they interact with people, like they're responsive to marketing emails, they're going to webinars, and we have kind of all of these little things in the background that says like, it's kind of like a dating app, right? Like you're swiping on like the highest, what's your outcome? Like I want them to email me. And if I'm just sitting here blasting 1,000 people emails and hoping against hope that somebody's going to take me up on an offer for drinks or whatever it is, it's an absolute waste of time. And it's a waste of intelligence too. Like there is a smarter way to do this, to say, let's use Frank, where it's like, this guy's great. He engages with everything on LinkedIn. He shows up to in-person events. Like if you email him and you like, he's going to meet you for dinner or he's going to meet you at a conference somewhere, and you're going to be able to build a relationship with them because of these factors. That's all that I have to do. I can now reduce the 80% output of wasted time of just like sending emails into the oblivion, which eventually pisses people off because they unsubscribe and they filter you out. And then there's a law of diminishing returns there. So I love the way that you're thinking about this.
But can I ask a question here? Because you and I have had this conversation. We have talked at length about your strategy around relationships being a primary driver. And I think it's an amazing approach for the right companies, right? Like, and in the right models. It's not going to work in, like, listen, if you're Calendly, your strategy probably not going to be the thing that they're going to be investing in. So I want to pivot back to AI because as you think about
take that back. What do you mean Calendly not going to be a thing?
Well, like, listen, it's a point solution. The CEO of your company is probably not going to get on calls and build relationships with Calendly, right? Like you have to understand the value of your, like who you are as a product in a company and what the strategy is, right? Calendly is also probably not investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in investing in all their customers, right? They're not staffing a low leverage ratio for all their CSMs to have 10
I don't want to go down the weeds of that, but like,
Kristi does.
But I will. No. But Calendly is exactly the example, right?
No. On the high end, yes, but not across the board.
Oh,
right?
Not like they have
SMB,
a very single subscription.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it's not a one size fits all. No, and I get that.
Ziv's like, do you need me? Are we?
No, same here. We have a long tail team, and the long tail team doesn't build relationships.
Right. So it's just different. Right. So that's what I'm just saying. It's a different approach and strategy depending on who you're serving and what the strategy is. Yeah. But I want to go back to AI because I think you hit on a few things, and I want you to validate something for me. I wrote an article back in March, and I kind of put together this bucket of like 5 P's of how I saw customer success getting value from AI. And I said it would be proactive. It would help us be proactive, predictive, productive, prescriptive, and personalized. And those were my 5 things. And I said, if AI can do those 5 things for me as a customer success professional, and I wrote down all these examples of how I envisioned it in the use cases of customer success. Do you feel like if you had AI that was serving that proactive, predictive, productive, prescriptive, and personalized, that it would be hitting on majority of the use cases for you to the point where you said, I'd be getting immense value from that?
Yeah, 100% fully agree on all those P's. I think we are missing one S. We're missing the strategic. But for the
sure.
Fully agree on that because I
don't want AI to automate all my strategy, but okay, yes.
No. I'll tell you what I am looking for AI to do that humans will not be perfect in. So I think what customers in enterprise B2B, customer success managers needs to be very, very strategic about, it's not only about, like, I look at it as a triangle. So there's a person that I work with, and I need to connect it to a business desired outcome. Like, what are they looking to get? And there's always two things. So there's something personal for them and something big for the company. It can be a KPI,
sure,
but in the end, it's something like that company bought me to save $5 million. And then that person in that team is working on 20% of that, and it's going to work from reducing cost in something, less 2 employees or whatever. And then it's really hard for sales managers, customer success managers to really be strategic about that thing over the next 12 months, and then after the renewal over the next 12 months. And I think the 5 Ps are going to get us to maybe 80%. And then we need someone to push us to be strategic.
But wouldn't you challenge your team to say, like, okay, that's your job. I'm paying you to do the 20%. Like, we'll get 80% of your job covered because AI will inform you on what to do, how to do it, when to do it, everything, right? Like, AI covers the actions and activity based on those 5 Ps. But like, at what point do you say we still have people because they bring value because they're strategic? Now, if you're trying to say, no, AI is going to do that as well, do we need people?
Well, I think that's where you define strategic, Kristi, because I think that you also have to look at skill set, right? I mean, like, you cannot every CSM isn't going to have 10 years of experience around strategy. There is going to be a playbook. I don't think of it as like the application of the strategy, but I almost think of it as AI coming in and doing like baseline playbooks where it's like, here's a thought, like, here's something that the AI is going to come up, try these 5 steps. And then obviously the human is going to come back in and say, this is how I'm going to do it. And then there's the feedback loop for AI. So I see that from, it's a way to get people upscaled very quickly, right? That
I don't disagree, but let's talk about the real impact to people then. So if I'm a CSM and I've gone this route of being an IC for 20 years of my career, and I pride myself on my ability to do this job, am I no longer a valued asset because Bob, who's got 2 years experience, can now use AI because it has strategy?
Yeah, I see your point.
Because I want to talk about like the bigger impact to the market and to like the people, right? Because that customer success, we so heavily hang around people.
Well, okay. So, but I mean, I know we've got like 32 seconds before this podcast ends, so we're going to fit it all in right here. But no, I think that you got to look at it from the same perspective as a human does, right? So if you put your 20 years experience against a book of business, you're going to try and fail. That's just the way that it works. You're going to try something, it's not going to work. That's all that AI is doing, is it's just trying and failing much faster. So I think what it is it will allow folks that have those 20 years of experience to actually have a value add to speak into the way that these plays are being developed. And it will give you the opportunity to have a larger impact, not just on your customer base, but also on the folks that have only been doing this for 2 years. Okay,
so we are saying that you're still valuable because how you would approach this is still very different.
And every single thing that is built on an LLM has to have an input. And if we are looking at inputs from just data on data, it's going to get really fucked up. But if we look at it as, okay, Kristi's a principal and she's got all this experience, we're actually going to key a lot of information on her, and she's going to drive the strategy for a team of 5 CSMs. And then her feedback loop is going to be in a one-on-one session. It's going to empower leaders. It's going to empower folks that do have a wealth of information and experience to then feed hyper-specific niched opportunities within the book and the segment that you're in based on a much larger output. Instead of, I'm working on one account that's $10 million, it's taking all of my time, and I cannot actually have a large impact on the other CSMs in this team. That is a siloed approach. We're actually going to be breaking things out of the silo.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I think that it will benefit. It could. I think it will benefit everybody. It will benefit people that are more tenured and more seasoned in their career. But it will probably help the more younger generation and less tenured generation catch up quicker.
Yeah.
Right. But that's just life in some sense, right? That's the evolution of industrial progress.
That's Josh's get off my lawn moment.
No,
like, I'm old and tired.
Listen, it's the same thing for UpdateAI. Let me tell you, like, we started building our own AI 4 years ago. Yeah. I didn't know what OpenAI was.
Yeah.
I didn't but not before anybody else, but like, I didn't know what OpenAI was and stuff like that. Right. And it's the same thing as that. Like and then you've got folks that come along right afterwards and they're able to, like, it's AI, OpenAI and the LLM still give me an advantage 100%, right?
Yeah.
But it's given more of a lift to the folks that just started 9 months ago.
Yeah, they didn't have to waste all the 4 years, right? Investing all that time.
Right. So I didn't have to waste the last 10 years investing with my Microsoft account, right? Like as an CSM. Ziv, final thoughts?
Yeah, I think AI is definitely going to help here significantly. And I think the 5 Ps and strategy, I think in the end, it will create people more time.
5P plus.
Well, by the way, the 5 Ps, you need the S at the end to be the Ps, right? So it is 5 Ps, PS, right? Yeah.
So, and then I think it will create people more time. And then I think what we really need in the framework that AI might help significantly is to identify and tell us what is that strategy that we're trying to define with the customer. And then the humans will be the ones that will get the prize of we are able to move the customer's needed. I think that it can work in Calendly, it can work in AppsFlyer, it can work with a lot of other B2B SaaS. In the end, there's a huge segment of enterprises that are buying our solutions that we can generate a lot of more revenue from. And then that's the way to do it. We need to prove, and for them to see that we are moving their needle.
Yeah. Ziv Peled, CCO of AppsFlyer.
Yeah, this is really cool. I appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you, Jon. Welcome back. Really,
yeah.
So much respect for all you've been through and the way that you've handled it, with like just the amazing spirits as always as you bring to everything in life. And Ziv, we'll find time next week. We'll ingest some Gong calls and I'll show you some real insights.
I love that.
Ooh. Gong,
all right,
thrown down.
Love you guys.